What's up, guys? Welcome back to Flipping the Script Fishing. Now this is part 2 of Set the Hook series. So today what I wanted to do was illustrate how your rod choice really affects your hook set. So without further ado, let me show you the tools I'm going to be working with today, and we'll go from there. Now what I've done is chosen a couple rods, several rods that illustrate the point. So I got really flexible rods, I got those middle range rods, and I got those extra stiff rods. And later on I'm going to show you, I have 3 longer type rods that are all different action. So I'll show you the size, action, and strength of the rod and how it affects your hook set. Okay, so first I have this little rod. Now this is a ultralight. It's 4 foot 6 inches long, and it's extra fast action. Something you use for brim fishing or maybe trout on a small stream, but it's small, and obviously it should illustrate how little strength this has in a hook set. Second, I have this 6 foot medium action rod. Is something you might get at Walmart. It's good for little kids fishing. Pretty limber rod as well. Third, I have a medium action 6.5 foot spinning rod. Now this is good for your finesse fishing, drop shots, maybe a shaky head or something like that, but it's a pretty limber rod. Fourth, I have a 7 foot medium heavy action rod. This is a rod I might use for worms or a Texas rig or a jig, flipping my jig. I use this on my flipping the jig quite a bit, but it's a stronger action rod. So first part of this video is these 4 rods. We got my typical player here, our bass. If you can think of a name for this bass, put it in the comments below, because we gotta come up with a name. This is the 3rd video he's in, and he's gotta have a name. So, and then in the middle of the line, I'm gonna have this baggie, this little bag tied, and it will show when I set that hook, the line moving and that kind of thing. So we're gonna do these components. We're gonna put it on the line, on the rods, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so now I chose to use the same reel for all the rods that I demonstrate. So I want to take that component out of the equation, that variation. So what I have here is an Abu Garcia original, and it's paired up with 12-pound monofilament. I'm using the monofilament also to illustrate the difference in hook set, because I think it better exemplifies the difference and how far apart the rods are in their action and how much it does affect your hook set. So we took that component out of the equation. The first one I'm going to demonstrate is this ultralight, 4.5 foot ultralight. Like before, I'm going to reel up the slack just so you start to see that bag move, and then I'm going to set that hook. You can see the fish move, but it didn't move very much. Now I'm going to demonstrate this 5.5 foot medium action rod that usually comes with a push button reel, only kids rods. A little bit better than the ultralight, but still barely get that fish over that limb. Alright, third, I'm going to demonstrate this 6.5 foot medium action, a medium fast spinning rod. A little bit better. I think the distance helped, but still you saw the delay to when it got to that fish. Alright, now I have this 7 foot medium heavy action rod that I use for my jigs. Got a lot more backbone. Should be able to move that fish a little bit better. As you can see, that fish went pretty good. Went flying in the air, probably flew 15 feet toward me. I definitely got a good hook in that fish. All right, last for this part of the demonstration, I have my 7/6 heavy action rod. Got a lot of backbone, that's what I use for punching. You should see significant movement in that fish. So let's see. Yeah, that fish definitely moved. About put it in the tree. For the second half of this video, I want to show you 3 rods that are all longer rods. So they're similar in length, but they're different in action. This is a 7'10" moderate medium action rod. Now I use this for big crankbaits and things like that. This is a 7.5 foot medium heavy extra fast rod. So while it's got a lot of backbone, it's got a pretty flexible tip. So makes a big difference. This is a 7/6 heavy action rod. Now I use this for punching, and you can use it for frogging, that kind of thing. But it's got a lot of backbone, a little bit of tip, but pretty strong, pretty stiff rod. The difference may be subtle, but when you're throwing a crankbait as opposed to punching in grass, you need different strength. So I'm hoping this will demonstrate that. You have to look for subtleties. There will be minor differences, but just pay attention. This here is my big cranking rod. So I use this for 10XDs, my Cloud 9, 6 Sense Cloud 9, my Bull Shad, but it is a 7'10" moderate medium action rod. Okay, so it's got a lot of length, but it's got a lot more bend to it than your punching rod, for instance. So like I said, it's still strong. I'm covering a lot of ground with the rod tip, but there's definitely a delay in moving that fish, and the fish didn't move nearly as far. So this rod is a little bit easier on the mouth of those bass with treble hooks. So it's not going to rip a treble hook out of that fish's mouth, and that's why the moderate action is important. All right, now what I have here is a medium heavy, 7/6 medium heavy with an extra fast tip. Okay, you can see how flexible that tip is. Got a lot of backbone here with a fast tip. We're going to see what effect that has on moving that fish. Now, it's still 7.5 feet, so I'm going to be moving a lot of line, so that fish should certainly move, but there ought to be a little difference. I'll be honest, I didn't think it would be that much of a difference, but that fish didn't move that much. So I can see why I'm not getting a real good hook in those fish in my Texas rig. I might need to consider changing my fishing rod. Last is this 7/6 heavy action rod that I use for punching that you saw earlier in the earlier demonstration, and we'll just re-demonstrate how well that sets the hook compared to the others, and how not just the length matters, but also the action of the rod. The fish flew about halfway to me, and that's even on monofilament. as you can tell, guys, rod length, rod power, rod action all makes a difference in getting a good hook set in that fish. Now if you refer to part 1 of this series, that line type also makes a big difference. So you can mitigate less power in a rod with braided lining, for instance. Or if you have a rod that is overpowering a hook set, you can put monofilament on it, for instance. So those are things to consider when you're trying to get a good hook in these fish, because every little bit matters. So pay attention to your rod strength, the rod length, and all that kind of stuff. When I have a really long rod, I can make up a lot of ground with how far I'm sweeping, because I'm sweeping 10 plus feet, as opposed to a little tiny rod where I'm only sweeping it 4 to 6 feet. So that makes a big difference. So pay attention to those things. I hope this video helped out. If it did, like, comment, subscribe, put all that in the comments below, and I'll try to do another part to this that focuses more on lures and the type of rod that you need for certain lures, and how that affects your hook set. So stay tuned for that, and until next time, guys, tight lines. Even doing a simple recording in the backyard has its difficulties. As you can see, the neighbor kid wanted to join the fun. Hi, buddy. I see that. I'm trying to do a video, buddy. I want to be able to keep it quiet so I can do the video, okay? Rod. Obviously very flexible.